get educated on your Second Amendment right. Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts Dave Stahl, Joe Germisi, and Michael Schwartz will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights to keep and bear arms. Visit gunownersradio.com with questions to learn how to become a sponsor of Gun Owners Radio and get involved. Together, we will win. Now here's your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Germisi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1 AM 1170.
The Answer.
Folks, if you have legal matters that involve firearms, then you need to call attorney John Dillon. If you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant, call our trusted firearms attorney John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150, or you can visit his website at dillonlawgp.com.
Nice. Merry Christmas, Dave.
Merry Christmas.
Everybody have a good Christmas? What'd you get? Did anybody get anything?
Yeah, I had a
cool?
great Christmas. Everybody's shaking their heads here.
I know. We're actually on radio. What'd you get, Joe? What'd Santa Claus bring?
What did I get? I got a good book on whiskeys. That was cool.
Oh, that is cool.
And I got permission to go forward with my rifle, so that was cool.
What do you? So you were alluding to possibly purchasing a rifle.
Yeah,
what are we going?
I'm really fortunate because Nina's real supportive. That in fact, it's bad because go for it, get it.
I like Nina.
So I was looking at a 6.5 Creedmoor, the Savage 110 High Country model.
Savage 110 High Country model, 6.5 Creedmoor.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Nice. What made you go with 6.5 Creedmoor?
I've been looking at it for a while because earlier. About 6 months ago or so, or last year, I was thinking about getting into precision rifle, trying to learn that. And as I was exploring that, I kept seeing the 6.5 Creedmoor as something that a lot of people were looking at nowadays. And I was talking to some guys at the range the other day, too, who were saying the same thing. So that's what got me into that one a little bit. It's not quite as explosive, I don't think, as the 308s or the bigger rounds, but it's big enough to do that. It's supposed to be really flat out at least to 1,000 yards. And it'll work for the hog hunting that I may have an opportunity to do this year.
Sounds delicious.
That's what I was thinking.
No, high country. Do you know what is that?
Now, Savage does got at least a dozen different models and versions of this thing. So the one that struck me was their high country model. So that's what I'm looking
Anything in particular that you liked about the high country?
No, not really. The stock. I mean, it's got an adjustable comb and all that stuff on it.
Yeah. Sounds like it comes with a cowboy hat.
It should, yeah. It's a synthetic stock, and it's got the camo stock. Maybe that's what it was. I don't have anything that looks like that right now.
Yeah. Melissa, what did you get for what did Santa Claus bring you gun related?
Santa brought me 4,000 primers.
Wow.
I'm so happy about that.
What are you going to use those primers for?
Probably 223 or no 5.56 and just 9mm.
Yeah. Small
pistol primers and small rifle primers.
Nice.
So what'd you get?
I got some booze. I
have a 4-foot AR full of tequila.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like the bottle's AR shaped, and it's tequila.
Got it from my cousin Jeff.
That's interesting.
Does it pour out the barrel?
Yeah.
So out the end and muzzle?
And it's got shot glasses.
That's an old song, Pour Out the Barrel.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what we got to talk about? Before it's all wrapped up here. We actually have to talk about something.
That's right. We're on doing radio.
The Ninth Circuit, everybody listen up to this, is extremely important. I wanted to put this in very plain language. There's the Duncan case, which has to do with high capacity or what we call normal capacity magazines. They said, you can have normal capacity magazine. I'm just going to take you through the timeline real quick. They said, you can have normal capacity magazines. And then Freedom Week happened, and then he put a stay on his own decision. So you can still possess the normal capacity magazines that you owned or purchased during Freedom Week. But you still can't buy them. You can't import them. You can't take possession of them. You can't sell them to someone in California. So the courts a couple of weeks ago, revisited the decision and said, nope, it's constitutional. You can outlaw normal capacity magazines. That's completely and totally constitutional. We, of course, vehemently disagree with them. Think they're absolutely ludicrous. The decision was so weak. Even attorneys that don't normally get involved in, Second Amendment law read it and said, yeah, this is really, really shaky ground. This is really, really weak. So the hope is that this will go to the Supreme Court. But the big thing that people have to know is after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals takes a look at a case and says, yeah, this is okay or this is not okay or whatever. Maybe they overturn a decision, maybe they uphold a decision. What they do is they kick it back down to the lower court and in the form of a mandate, and that court basically adopts that decision, says, okay, this is the new decision. And that's just a bunch of paperwork. That takes a little bit of time and it takes a little bit of paperwork. Well, the interesting thing that happened here, we want to put this in very plain terms so that everybody can understand it. The court said, okay, the lower court said, all right, we're going to adopt this. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals says that the law outlawing magazines that hold more than 10 rounds is constitutional. Okay, fine. However, if our side wants to try to get this into the Supreme Court, we're going to allow people to possess normal capacity magazines until the Supreme Court gets a crack at it. That's really, really big news.
Yeah.
So basically what that means is the stay on the decision, there was like a stay on a stay. So what it means in very, very plain language, because we know our side is going to appeal this to the Supreme Court. Will the Supreme Court take it? We don't know that yet. That's going to take a while. In fact, that might take years. But as long as our side says, hey, Supreme Court, we want you to take a look at this, you'll be able to possess normal capacity magazines. So if you have normal capacity magazines, maybe you bought them on Freedom Week, maybe you held them prior, maybe you obtained them some other legal way. If you possess these magazines, you're okay in California. You can continue to possess them. You cannot buy normal capacity magazines. You cannot import them from out of state. You cannot sell normal capacity magazines to somebody else. You can't give them to someone else, as a gift. So you can't take possession. If someone gives you one as a gift, you can't take possession of it. But if you have it and you obtained it legally, you're good to go.
So you're grandfathered in, basically.
And they put a date on that, right? The 19th of May is what they extended that to?
No, it's actually, so they said, excellent question, Joe. So they said, hey, you got 150 days, which is May, for our side to appeal it to the Supreme Court. So that's definitely going to happen. So that date doesn't really matter. So if our side didn't appeal it to the Supreme Court until, next August, then in May, it would expire.
But they could have come down and said, since they ruled, that it was constitutional, they could have come down immediately and said, you know what, they're illegal now and you can't use them. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, and that was the way everybody expected it to go. This is very unusual. This whole thing's very unusual.
Well, one of the things one of the theories out there is that they're waiting on the Supreme Court to see, because they're going to talk about intermediate scrutiny versus strict scrutiny on the New York case. And if they go with strict scrutiny, that could impact all these other firearm or gun control related cases, this one and the others too.
100%. There are two lawsuits against the assault weapons ban in California, the Rupp case, and then of course our case, the Miller case. The Rupp case went against us. The Miller case went for us. Both of them are on hold until the New York Rifle and Pistol Association's case having to do with carry, which is kind of unusual because an assault weapons ban isn't a carry case. That's a possession case. The Second Amendment, you have the right to keep and the right to bear arms. And they're waiting on a case that really talks about bearing arms to decide whether or not you can keep arms, which is kind of unusual. But anyway, if you have normal capacity magazines, you can hold on to them. So
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, I think it is. It's totally a miracle.
It kind of is.
It is a miracle. That's the first time you started a show with positive news.
Oh, come on.
I'm impressed.
That's not My Guns connects responsible firearm owners with voluntary private off-site storage options during times of mental health crisis or personal need.
But first, self-defense and emergencies can happen to anyone, and there is no guarantee that the justice system will be on your side. So you need to make sure you are protected for that legal battle after your self-defense battle. While you protect your family and protect property, U.S. Law Shield is here to defend you 24/7, 365 days a year, with a comprehensive self-defense coverage at an affordable price. Bad guys don't take days off, and neither does our coverage. Hey, listeners, you can get a free T-shirt when you use the code GUNOWNERSRADIO. Just go sign up at uslawshield.com.
Oh, free T-shirt. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, you've only been listening for the last
Has that been going on?
ever since.
All right. Well,
Good morning.
I'm usually preparing for the next segment.
Yes, of course you are.
This one I'm totally prepared. So that's why I could hear that you get a free T-shirt.
Yeah.
All right. So our guest is from Hold My Guns, which is very different than Hold My Beer. Whole different thing. Don't get them confused. Sarah Joy Albrecht is the founder and executive director for Hold My Guns. Sarah, you there?
I am. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year.
To you as well.
So, Sarah, let's start with your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a range safety officer, and I work with youth. I have volunteered with the Southern Chester County Youth Shooting League for many years. I'm a mom of 5 kids, and they have gone through that league as well. And they have a distinguished expert, 2 experts and 2 sharpshooters. So firearms are very much a part of our family and the firearms community. And prior to founding Hold My Guns, I was a doula and childbirth educator for 11 years. So helping people through transitioning to becoming parents and making informed decisions and just really helping people to think through next steps in life and to plan ahead. So I'm just really excited to be in the space for Hold My Guns and supporting our firearms community in this way. And the reason why I started it is because we lost an 18-year-old friend to suicide by firearm. And when my kids and their friends came to me and they're like, Mom, we really care so much about preserving our rights. What can we do to help gun owners when there's a crisis in the home that, can come alongside of them and support them in a way that helps them to preserve rights? And what we realized is that not everyone has a friend or family member who can help store firearms. And then different state laws can vary that, can bring complications to that as well. And so we just saw a need to create an option to partner with FFLs across the United States to provide this option for people who needed it. And we can store firearms, and we can also store non-serialized critical parts such as a barrel or a firing pin, depending on the storage partner's capabilities. So that's a little bit about how I got started with it.
Wow. First, I'm very sorry for your loss. That sounds very sad and tragic.
Thank you. It was tough.
I'm sure it was. That sounds horrible. I was actually just on a podcast this morning with Dan Waz. You know that guy, Dan?
Yes.
And I think is it Waz? It's Waz, right? Waz or Woz? I think it's Waz.
I don't ask me. I'm not sure.
I just know him as Dan. Anyway, and we were talking about the gun violence restraining orders, the red flag laws.
Yes.
And I really think that, first off, we're totally against the gun violence restraining orders. And that's really all they're talking about when they talk about red flag laws. But it does seem like one of the things that we talked about was, hey, if there was some kind of clarification or steps or education or something like that, that they were putting out that would help people in times of crisis, that might be beneficial. Hey, what do you do when you have an elderly parent who is, starting to show signs of dementia and they're a gun owner? Or what do you do when, any kind of crisis, right? Any kind of mental health crisis? What do you do? I mean, that's a very, you're talking about taking away somebody's God-given right. So how do you handle that? What are the steps? What kind of help out there is available? And I realized I was talking to you and I thought, wow, this is actually a really great opportunity. So many gun laws were created because we didn't step up and take the responsibility, I guess, and say, hey, this is how we need to, handle these hard situations. And they use that against us. They use these situations against us. And this feels like a really great opportunity to to be proactive and to, I guess, do what we need to do. Rights are a great responsibility. So this is the responsibility part, I think. I don't know.
It is.
Right? I mean, talk a little bit about. Was that kind of the thinking behind? Hey, this is why we're putting together this project.
Yes, that's certainly a part of it. And also keep in mind that we don't ask why people store firearms. For all we know, they're going on vacation or deployment. So we never want to make an assumption. The person who works at a gun shop is not a psychiatrist. And so what we do is we care about treating our customers with dignity and respect. And something that we promote that kind of ties back to my days with my childbirth and doula clients was just promoting having a personal safety plan. And recently we did a collaboration with A Girl and a Gun to help to disseminate that personal safety plan that we came up with so that people can figure out, what's going on in my life? How can I take responsibility for it? And what is my plan for lethal means? And that way people, gun owners, are not just along for the ride, and they know, what to do in certain situations because they've already made those decisions ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
And we always want to encourage people to take responsibility and to take a voluntary approach. When you start to get into involuntary commitments, that's when you can, be in danger of losing your rights.
It gets scary.
Sure. It is. And also thinking about leadership, our approach is that, if you look at gun deaths and
mm-hmm.
gun-related deaths, and 60% of them are suicides, the way that I see it is we have an opportunity to undermine 60% of the reasoning behind gun control. Well, people still push for it, of course, but I think we have a tremendous opportunity as a firearms community to take leadership on that issue and really just support people from within our own community and build a community that we want to live for. So that's what we're about.
I think that's okay. So you've used a term. I think this is probably a little off topic, but you've used a term twice now. So I'm going to ask you about it. I don't know what is a doula. I don't know. I think that's what you're saying, doula. Dave, I think Dave knows. Isn't a doula when a pickup truck's got two sets of tires?
That's dually.
Dually. Oh, all right. My bad. See, this is why we got to ask these questions.
And by the way, before we get to the next three questions, if Mike asks you,
mm-hmm.
this station has no responsibility for these next three questions. Just gonna throw that out. Be ready.
All right. Well, a doula it's actually a Greek word that has roots to the word slave, and it means that you are the hands of the woman who is in labor, and whatever she needs, whether it's a glass of water or encouragement or hold her hair back, that you're there and that you're supporting her. And my specialty was helping women that had experienced sexual trauma in the past. And so really helping them to plan ahead for birth and then becoming a mom. It's just, there are a lot of complexities there, but there's also a lot of hope if you have the right support team. And so, I just know how life can take unexpected turns, and we never know, what's going to happen next. But if we do prepare ahead and we do have a community that supports us, whether you're having a baby or, having an unexpected crisis in the home, no matter what that is, if you have the right team in place and you have a plan in place and what your resources are, you're going to do a lot better than if you're just to be thrown into something and haven't thought through any of those important things.
It's truly amazing. That's awesome. That's very, very cool. So the question is, I don't know who researched these questions.
Okay.
Why is there
have your name all over it?
What is up with not liking root beer?
Oh my goodness. I think we just always had root beer as a kid, like it was the go-to, and
you still don't like root beer?
I'm not a fan of root beer. Nope.
I don't know what to say.
Every now and then I taste it again. My dad, we lived in the country in Indiana for a while growing up, and my dad, you ever have their candies called whorehounds, and they're like really extreme root beer flavor. And Dad would be like, let's go to the candy store. And of course he would give us his candy. It's like, Dad, gross. I don't know. It's just not my favorite thing.
Did you ever have a whorehound?
I don't. Is it the they have
real
syrup
hard
right?
Candy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Are they in the shape of like a barrel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those are super. You didn't like those?
Cringe.
I don't know what to
I
say
didn't know
about
they
it.
had a name.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, they have a name.
I don't know what to think about
Okay,
that.
what's the next question?
Well, so you don't like? What about Dr. Pepper? Do you like? We have a Dr. Pepper in the studio right here. Is that?
I would pass on that.
And that wasn't the question.
You don't like Dr. Pepper
No,
either?
I'm not a fan of Dr. Pepper.
This interview is quickly going downhill.
Yes, it's time. Yeah, wait till you hear 2 and 3.
You know what kind of doctor
no.
Dr. Pepper is?
What?
A physician. Yeah, that just happened.
Everybody lift your feet.
All right, what about pineapple and pizza?
It depends. It has a really great crust, and it's actually good with a good ham and some jalapeno peppers.
Oh.
It's how two of my daughters love that combination. So
okay, credibility restored. Credibility. And
No. This is going to be the credibility restored. The last Michael Schwartz question, because he's been asking everybody.
Denny's spaghetti. How do you like Denny's spaghetti? Or have you had it?
Reminds me of late night studying in college, and you kind of want like something that's home cooked, and that's what you order, and it will hit the spot. I'll tell you, it will hit the spot, but it's not as good as my husband. So, you know.
Michael says that is the only thing on the menu at Denny's worth buying.
It truly.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I would give it like, let's say a 5.5 out of 10.
5.5? Ooh, that hurts.
The interview just tanked. So we're not keeping her for the next segment. Is that what you're telling me?
All right, I'll tell you what.
Oh my goodness,
Sarah, we actually do have a lot of really cool, serious things to talk about. So hang out with us.
Don't go anywhere, Sarah. Even though you failed miserably on the 3 most important questions.
Well, the pineapple and pizza thing, though, and she added jalapeno.
Do you like pineapple and pizza?
Oh my gosh, do I? Oh yeah.
Tell them about the pickles.
Pickles on pizza?
On anything.
Yeah, pickles do go on anything.
Pickle juice. Where did you do the pickle juice?
Pickle juice with
For
Jameson
breakfast?
whiskey.
Yeah, but something in breakfast? Didn't you do something pickle juice in breakfast?
I don't remember. Probably.
Hey, does selling your home feel overwhelming? Well, it doesn't really have to be. All you have to do is call Scott Vinson at Caldwell Banker Royal Realty. Scott Vinson is the perfect guide to help you sell or buy your home. Scott has always been a San Diego County Gun Owner Board member from the very start. So if you're moving, let a fellow Second Amendment supporter and real estate broker help you sell your home. You can also find your new home anywhere in the United States. Call him today at 619-948-2459. Tell him you heard about us on Gun Owners Radio. That's Scott Vinson at 619-948-2459 or online at scottvinson.com.
All right, we're talking to Sarah Joy Albrecht.
All right, Sarah.
From the
peanut butter and pickles sandwich.
Oh my goodness. Maybe chunky peanut butter with a sweet gherkin pickle.
I'm down for that.
He doesn't care.
That sounds awesome.
But I love chunky.
I would try it. I don't think I've ever tried it, but I can visualize that.
Okay, we're going to try something different in this.
We're going to go back to work.
We're going to not talk about food. We're going to go way off topic and talk about guns for a minute. Okay, so we were talking to you. You started Hold My Guns, which, by the way, thank you so much for being a great sport. That was actually very, very interesting to find out a little bit more about you. But your organization is enormously interesting. It's something that we're interested in doing more with and learning more about. What's the biggest myth or misconception, or what would most people be surprised to learn about the organization or about the subject matter?
I think something that I've learned as I've been working on this for a little while now is that people come into they learn about our organization through different pathways, and there are a lot of people in a suicide prevention space. And what I've learned is that a lot of folks are trying to work on this because they have had a loss of a loved one, and so I just feel very compassionate. And I think that some folks who are not in the firearms community are surprised that gun owners actually really care about people, and they care about suicide prevention, and they care about responsibility. And I think that just from conversations that I've had, it's actually really refreshing and a relief to many to know that gun owners are actually people that are upstanding citizens, and they really do have compassion. And that's why we chose on the logo, it says freedom, safety, and compassion, because, there really doesn't have to be, there doesn't have to be where you can only have one or the other. You really can have those things existing in the same place. So I think that's the biggest surprise.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I find most people are gun owners because we're compassionate and care about people.
Yes.
That's the exact reason. We want to defend, human life is really the reason. Okay, so talk to us about what's the nuts and bolts. Is it just one location? Is this a program that can spread? Or talk to us a little bit about that.
The program is designed to be scalable, and our goal is to have a storage location at least in all 50 states. Having one in every major city would be even better. We all know that we have to be careful about crossing state lines and all that kind of stuff, and we would never want for someone in crisis to have to make a decision between breaking the law and storing their firearms at a storage location. So I think it's really important as a firearms community that we look together for locations that would be ideal. We want to work with gun shops that have great customer service, not like 1 star, walked in and nobody talked to me, but instead people greeted me and they were kind and they helped me find what I needed and all that kind of stuff. So, if there are any gun shops in the San Diego area that would like to work with us, we would just so enjoy doing that.
Well, honestly, we want to make that happen. We want to make every gun shop to be a hold my guns gun shop. So what does that look like though? What does it look like for the gun shop? What does it look like for the?
You're talking about requirements,
requirements, or just talk to us about the process.
Mm-hmm. So we currently have 3 storage partners. We have St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center in Louisiana, Casey Small Arms in Massachusetts, and Branson Cerakoting in Missouri. And we love working with them because they're all gun shops that have great reputations and great customer service. So that's a criteria. And then what we use is the consignment and consignment return process for firearms. And then, of course, we have to follow all federal, state, and local laws. So what we provide to our gun shop storage partners is a template, and it is customized to meet the requirements for those state laws. And we work with attorneys licensed in that state of operation, and that helps to reduce liability to the gun shop. But basically, it's like a consignment return. So a person would bring in their firearm, they would do so voluntarily, and then when it was time for them to come pick it up, then they would show their ID and any other requisite documentation that they needed to meet state requirements, fill out the 4473, do the background check, and then pick up their firearm.
So somebody's going through something, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, maybe they're being deployed. Maybe they're just going to go out of town for a month or something like that. And they want to make sure that their firearms are safe, or maybe there is some kind of mental health crisis or concern that's going on. You want them to know that, hey, this gun shop, if you just bring your firearms to the gun shop, that they'll store them for free and for a period of time?
They will store them for a period of time. And I have to be clear that a person storing a firearm cannot be a prohibited person. That's a separate process. It's outside the scope of our program. But if they're of course, for liability.
Hopefully that goes without saying, but yeah.
Yes, I have to make that clear.
Understood.
However, they could store a non-serialized critical part. That is an option. And we do encourage our gun shop partners to charge an affordable fee. And what that does is it helps the gun shops not just get a pile of firearms that are just left there. And, that there's ongoing communication like, hey, I didn't receive a payment this month. Are you guys still interested in storing the firearm, or, would you like us to consign it for you? So it creates some accountability there, but also some anonymity. Like, you wouldn't want to say, hey, if you're in crisis, we'll store it for free. But if you're going on vacation, we have to charge you, because then everyone would know what's going on in that customer's life. So it's built in a way that helps the gun shops to keep their lights on and pay their employees. Again, good customer service is important. So if it's something that they're having to fill out paperwork and they're not getting paid to do it. That's not cool. But we also have opportunities. Some gun shops and even some like veterans organizations have discussed things like creating a scholarship fund. So let's say there was someone who was in crisis and, or maybe, that they were being deployed or whatever, and they couldn't afford it, then they can pull from a scholarship fund if there's one available that's working with that shop. So there are options there to help people that can be explored. And but the goal is to treat it like any other gun shop transaction, really. We really want for it to be ubiquitous with gun shops that, hey, if your customers need help, if you have this program, then they can trust you as a community resource. And it makes our gun shop partners look amazing. If there's ever an incident in their community and reporters come over, they can say, hey, you know what? We actually really care about people and we provide this service. And we do a lot to help support our community and to care about people. So it's really great for PR.
So, Sarah, let me ask you this. I know you only have 3 gun shops right now that are participating, but would this be something that you could get from the courts and the law enforcement? Because, maybe somebody's got guns, they got themselves into a little bit of a legal situation. So instead of giving their guns to law enforcement and maybe never get them back, would this be an alternative that the courts would look at as an opportunity to secure these guns, on a third party until the legal, situation is resolved?
That's a great question. If the person is a prohibited individual, then they would not be able to use it.
Right.
But there certainly are services available out there that we would be happy to share with people if they were in that situation. But really our hope is to help people to take a proactive approach. And if they see things to start to go sideways in their own home, in their own personal life, to say, you know what, like things aren't going very well. And it's very possible that if I continue on this path, I'm going to find myself to be just as involved. And so maybe I need to just take care of my personal matters, go store my firearm, go get the help that I need. And then hopefully people won't ever get to that place. So that's our encouragement is, yes, situations like that exist. There is help available, but let's try our best as a community to support one another so we don't get there. And part of that is reducing the stigma about talking about life's ups and downs. And that really is a big part of our messaging is that we care and that the firearm community cares. And we want to help people, whether, they're experiencing grief or just going through a hard time, reach out and get help. And hopefully you'll never get to that place where you find yourself on the other side of the law.
Well, we're in California, so that was the reason I brought it up, because red flag laws out here, those things can be thrown around like crazy. And if, let's say, you made me mad for some reason, then I can turn you in for having, so instead of them confiscating it, going into the dark hole, could it go to a gun store that's licensed with you guys and does the right thing? I mean, that's what I was just thinking of.
Yeah, and again, if they're not prohibited,
right?
Each situation's different. So if let's say the person maybe had some kind of scuffle and someone, maybe they were not technically prohibited, but they realized I should probably sort things out. It's, as long as they are going to be able to pass that background check and they understand from their legal perspective where they are, there certainly is an opportunity, provided that they're not prohibited as they're picking up their firearms. So we have to be very careful about that.
So what's the most effective way you found to get the message out? If the program is implemented, now how do we get that message out? Or, how is that spreading best? Oh, we're out of time.
It's easy. They come on Gun Owners Radio.
There you go. So if you could give your website, where do people find out more about this?
holdmyguns.org, and you can find us on socials at holdmyguns.org.
All right. Well, I'm sure we're going to have you back because this is a very interesting topic. Because once your firearm goes to the dark hole of law enforcement, getting it back is sometimes one of the toughest things on the planet. I think you're a great alternative.
That's right. This interview brought a little joy into our
absolutely
Sarah joy.
All right, Sarah, go have a crunchy peanut butter and pickle sandwich, and then we're here till 6. If you want to call back and give us an update, we'll listen.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Core Essentials, our favorite ratcheting gun belt company, is in the studio to talk about their newest battle belt.
But first, well, I was just thinking of my core.
I don't-
I was thinking
we
of
were
my
just thinking
core
about
belt.
lunch, weren't we?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about lunch. I'm hungry.
Lobster bisque.
Hey, most companies waste a lot of money on marketing. If you're not aware, try it. The reason why is because they don't have a clear message. So if you're wasting money on your website, your social media, or your advertising, plus you shouldn't be doing any of the above. You should have a reputable company do it, and that has a clear, easy to understand message. Sage Tree is where you need to be. They've been doing this since 2005. Sage Tree has been helping companies clarify their message and connect with customers. Contact them today and learn about the proven systems to help you get better return on your investment from your marketing dollars. Go to sagetree.com to learn more. All right, Melissa Lee, and a core representative who will remain unnamed, is going to talk about his battle belt.
I have with me today Jerry Dominguez. He is a representative from Core Essentials, and today we are going to review this new tactical belt. It's a battle belt, and I am loving this thing and can't wait to take it out. We're actually going to be shooting a match together next Saturday, so we are excited about this. So, Jerry, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me.
No problem.
Yeah, can you tell me more about like your background and how you became, associated with Core, and tell me a little bit more about the company?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my name is Jerry Dominguez. I have a call sign MAP, but that's another story, I guess. Anyhow,
MAP, M-A-P?
that's correct, sir.
Right.
And we can talk about that another time. But so I started working for Core. Actually, it was a friend of mine who turned me on to the company, and I started working for them, and I learned the product, and I was amazed. Now, I have a background in law enforcement and military. I was in the Marine Corps for 12 years, and when they gave me gear, if you haven't noticed, I'm not a big guy, right? And so they said, here's small, and it's like, great, small for giants. And I would have to engineer, remanufacture, or rebuild the equipment to make it fit me better. After learning the Core equipment and the belts that they made, the gun belts, I was amazed because the belt ratchets down a 1/4 inch at a time. So one cut fits most anybody and everybody. So once you cut the belt down to your size, you can adjust it 1/4 increment, and open it or close it. They have a ton of different belts that are coming out and are available, from a nylon tactical to brown and black leather. But the belt that I'm going to talk about today is the battle belt that just came out fairly recently, and it's geared tactically, and it's fantastic. Once you cut the belt and you fit it to yourself, it has an inner belt and an outer belt. And now those of you that have worn an inner and outer belt understand that the inside belt is a pain. You have to either move the buckle or adjust the inner belt and outer belt, and it's a constant game play, if you will. With the new inner belt that we have for the battle belt, for those of you who could see, it has a mesh portion in the middle, it's honeycombed, and it collapses on itself when you put the outer belt on, and you can hear it. Once it clicks into place, that inner belt collapses on itself, and it fits you perfectly to you. You don't have to readjustment. You want to let it up a little space, you just hit the button on the side of the buckle, and it releases it a 1/4 inch increment at a time.
So, like, if I ate too much food and I needed to take out my pants, I don't have to unbutton the top button of my pants anymore. I can just let my belt out a little bit.
Exactly, because I just did that on the Core belt that I'm wearing now. To sit down comfortably, I let it out 2 notches.
And I must say, if you go to the Core office and you're really, really nice, they'll cut the belt for you.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, I was there, and they showed me tools and things, and so I kicked in my old man, and they cut it perfectly.
Excellent. Yeah.
Well, because you know how to cut them. I mean, boom, boom. I mean,
Yeah.
it was that quick.
Well, here's the best part of this belt is that when you do get it for the tactical the battle belt itself, it comes with a kit, and it has a measuring tape, so you can't go wrong.
Right.
Follow the directions, you're good. The other belts that you purchase, the gun belts, they have the increments stamped on the inside of the belt. So you just select your pant size, cut, put the buckle on, and you're fitted perfectly to you.
Right.
That's the best part of this whole thing. But the belt is made really durable. I participate in the tactical games, and this is can be a brutal event, but nonetheless, I wear the belt and it holds up spectacularly.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope.
What do I need a battle belt for?
Well, if you're a tactical shooter, or if you're doing any type of steel games, shootings, your what are the other games available that are out there that you can
I'd say if
participate in
you were
shooting?
a hunter.
That too.
I mean,
Wear the
if you're
same
out
belt.
in the fields and you have to have enough equipment on your belt, I mean, look at this thing. Looks like an RV.
Yeah, you can use
like
the battle
Batman.
belt. We also have a garrison belt, which you can put your own equipment on it.
Right.
It's not mollied like the battle belt. The battle belt has a mauling system to it that you can interweave gear onto it.
Yeah, I really like this. And Dave, do you have one of these with your belt?
What's that?
This is kind of innovative. I'm like, I never know where to store my belts because they're pretty stiff.
Oh, yes, I do. I
And
do.
they
I
have
do.
a hanger.
I
Can
know.
you show them how to use that?
That is so.
So
Check that.
with each purchase of a belt, they normally come with a hanger,
Right.
and it just clips in, and you hang it wherever you want.
Right.
Oh, I don't have
And
a
it's just
hanger.
Well, that's-
I have two belts.
I
don't
have two
a
belts
hanger.
with two
Is that
hangers.
new?
We need to get you the hanger.
Yeah,
No,
we'll have
no.
to see about getting you a hanger.
Did
there.
you
Yeah,
physically go
these are
down, or did you have them
fantastic.
deliver them?
Both. I went down there. I need a hanger. I wonder if that was in there and I threw it away.
You
'cause
threw
I
it
didn't know
You know
away.
what,
it
too? Look, it has like the little hex
has
wrench
the
Allen.
built
Allen
into
wrench.
it.
Little Allen.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because there's not, where do you put a belt, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Normally. Throw it
Exactly.
on the floor or hang it on a chair. But this guy, I've got both my belts right up. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't notice it at first, but no, you're right.
Yeah, it's a fantastic idea. I put hooks on a hanger to hang my belts, and when I saw this, I lost my mind.
Oh yeah, no, it was what
So-
a smart idea.
Yeah.
Well, the whole belt system, from normal wear to tactical wear, you guys have really, crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's. I mean, you really have. I mean, it's and the color options. I should be a salesman,
Yeah, you should. You're trying to take my job, but I appreciate that.
but no, I mean, I'm seriously.
Yeah, it is.
That's all I wear.
It's a great line.
It's all I wear
Because
is
I
core.
have I have a Western belt on. It's a brown. It's almost like a suede. It's really nice,
Right.
nice belt. You have the tactical nylon belts, black, gray, tan, green, and then the cool
And the
multi-cam
employees are
colors.
very passionate about this product.
Very,
That's what I like.
very passionate. And
Yeah.
it's when I got there.
They will talk belts to you
Oh,
until
yes.
the cows come in.
Oh yes,
Just give me my belt.
yes. It's but it's a great product. So I again I hope being out at the games here this Saturday and having a good time, shooting some steel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna test out this belt at a steel match on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see how this holds up. I think it's gonna be
Oh, it's gonna work
night
perfectly.
and day from what I'm used to.
It'll
You're gonna
probably-
find that it is.
It'll probably outlast you.
You're probably right.
I had a sneaky feeling.
This is.
Do you
like,
have
really
one there,
stiff.
Joe? Since you're. Yes, he takes
Yes,
it.
I do.
Funny
I don't.
thing.
But you know what I don't have though is this tactical belt, which I think I'm going to pick up because I need to get one for Nina. She's doing a
she'll like this.
PCC class out at
Yeah.
Gunsight,
Yeah.
so I need to get a belt for her that I could put the mag
Her
pouches
gear on.
on.
Did you
Mhm.
get hangers? Did you get hangers?
I do have two hangers
Yeah,
for
I
mine because
have
I have three
two.
core
What the
belts.
heck?
I have
Everybody
two.
looks at me.
Mine as
Clearly,
well.
this was operator error. Everybody has a.
You
hanger.
threw them away.
I guess I did. I threw it
Extra
away.
parts. I don't need this.
Jackson, where's my belt hanger, man?
Tell them sorry I can't help you, pops.
Oh well.
But no, it's really. I think, no offense, that was one of the best things about the belt was that hanger.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was freaking out about it. Oh my
I
God,
hate
it
to
comes with
say
a
it.
hanger. Are you nuts? This is crazy. It's
Yeah.
to sell by itself with the hanger.
Because I was buying belts at Walmart and kept that little plastic thing. That
Yeah.
lasted all of about 3 days. No, that's good.
So what are we talking for
Yeah.
a battle belt? How much?
How
would
much?
These are $139.95
Yeah, without all the equipment.
without all the. Again, it's just the belt and the inner belt.
Right.
And so and I'll plug them because they are a good distributor and dealer for us. But Turner's carries them. Discount Guns carries them, and
I'm surprised everybody's not carrying them. To be honest
I
with you.
hope so. I mean,
I don't know if you're working that hard.
And
Well, you guys are in La Mesa.
Ace Uniform carries them as well.
You guys
And
are in
then
La Mesa, though.
yes, we're in
Still-
La Mesa, and you can come out there and get them too.
Ace Uniform?
Ace Uniform carries them, and I can't wait till law enforcement starts to grab a hold of these things. We hope to suit those guys up. Who was hidden.
Why is there an inner belt and an outer belt? Explain that real quick.
For the battle belt, the inner belt is to hold your trousers up, if anything. And the
You know
outer
about
belt has a Velcro portion, the hook portion, and it connects onto the waist, and so you don't have
Website?
to do anything else.
So you set up all the on the outer belt. You set up
All your
the
gear.
configuration.
The external
Genius.
belt gets all the gear. The inner belt holds it to your waist.
Gotcha.
And
holds
hold
it
your
all in
pants up.
place and holds your pants up.
Holds
You
my
can go
pants
to
up.
coreessentials.com and see the whole line.
And that's K-O-R-E.
That is correct.
Do you have a discount code for our listeners?
That would be
Michael Schwartz.
what is it
10.
again? New Year's. Oh my gosh, I can't remember.
Just tell him you
It's
heard it on
New Year-
Gun Owners Radio.
Exactly.
Denny's spaghetti.
New Year, new gear. You get 15%
Oh,
off.
I like that.
thank
New
you so
year, new
much.
gear. Get there.
But go down. They'll cut your belt for you and with a smile.
What does 2022 have in store for gun owners?
But first, PRMI Mortgage. PrimeRes.com/outline. Are you in the military? Are you looking for help for a VA loan? Well, if you're looking to buy or refi, or if you're just considering a reverse mortgage, call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. Call Chris Wiley at 619-722-1303 or go to PrimeRes.com/Alpine.
All right.
Is that it? It's my turn?
That'd
Your
be
turn.
brother.
Joe's up.
Well, okay, so I'm supposed to talk about what's 2022 have in store for gun owners. I thought it's the end of the year. I figured, let me write something. Let's take a look at the new year coming up, because 2021 was a little bit challenging, I think, for a number of reasons. I know I saw there was an article when we turned the clocks back. Someone had written that getting an extra hour of 2021 was like getting a bonus track on a Yoko Ono album. I thought, man, that's a good way to say it.
Nah, that is a good one. I
And
like that.
and I had another article this week that I published on Substack at getagrip.substack.com. But it was more political. It was the possibility of a return to the Thrilla in Manila with the
What?
potential for Trump and Hillary to run again in 2024. But
I did just see that about Hillary. Say that there was it was like a serious article. About
yeah,
it.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's a serious possibility.
And there was a promo video
Mhm.
of her reading the speech that she was going
that she never
was all-
gave.
She was all
Yeah.
teary. I couldn't help.
That was her speech,
I
her
was-
winning speech if she'd have won.
It made me so happy.
Well, she never did get over it. And if you look at the bench is kind of thin on the Democrat side.
Yeah, but Biden says, oh, no, he's running.
If he's healthy enough, yeah. I
Right.
guess he
He's already
could.
made it perfectly clear. He's
But
running.
I mean, anybody that they would run has already lost to Biden in their own primary, so they don't have a whole lot to throw out there. Hillary may be the best choice for them. So, and there's rumors about Trump, so who knows?
Get your popcorn's all I got to say.
Well, I'd say, yeah, no matter what your political leanings are,
no
it'll be
difference.
entertaining as heck. But rather than that, I thought for our thing, write about what we could look forward to in 2022, and we've talked about some of the issues and things coming up. But it's hard being in California where our rights are so badly abused out here. It's hard to be optimistic sometimes, but realistically, across the country, it's not so bad. Second Amendment wise, it's really about 6 states, I guess, that are not good. And unfortunately, we live in probably one of the biggest not good states. So, but there are things there. We looked at constitutional carry is now legal in 21 states, and I know there's several others considering it. Louisiana passed it, and both of their legislative houses, and then the governor vetoed it because they have a Democratic governor. They've got Republican legislature. But that kind of thing is happening across the country. The constitutional carry. So generally, the Second Amendment's pretty healthy, I think, around the country. We talked a little bit about the New York case that the Supreme Court is thinking about or considering, I guess. And I always used to look at that as okay, because essentially it's a concealed carry case, but the thing about the intermediate scrutiny and the strict scrutiny, I thought was interesting because I hadn't thought about it in those terms. But typically, you apply strict scrutiny to things that are more serious, I guess, things that are that deal with fundamental rights, like the Second Amendment should be. And I think the practice has been to apply intermediate scrutiny to a lot of the gun law challenges that go up there. And it's a higher level or a higher bar with strict scrutiny. And some of the people writing about it out there are saying, well, if the Supreme Court comes down and applies strict scrutiny to that, that could impact a lot of other challenges to a lot of gun control laws, because now, you may be able to go back and appeal a lot of these other laws that got passed, in other ways, or other laws that got challenged, I guess, and didn't get overturned. So I think that's an interesting thing. No matter how they rule, that's going to happen next year in 2022. So that's something else to look forward to. In California, we have a bunch of them. We talked about the magazine ban a little bit earlier in the show. The handgun roster is another thing that's pending out here. The challenge to the remove 3 for each one that gets added.
Well, the entire roster, hopefully, but yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, so that we'll hear something. There'll be some movement on that one way or the other in 2022. So that's something. The same thing with the assault rifle ban, the challenge to that. So we've got a lot to look forward to. Other things in California, Governor Newsom implied that he's going to try to use the same logic that they used on the Texas abortion law to gun owners or gun control laws. Basically, what Newsom, I think, is saying is that it's going to be able to allow private citizens to sue gun manufacturers and gun shops and gun ranges using the same law. And I think you talked about that a little bit last week.
Yeah,
and he's confused.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's saying. Like I say, he either doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's just trying to make a big old political stink.
All it'll take is one lawsuit, and then have that go through the courts. It'll get thrown out.
Yeah,
and all the lawyers will say, okay, we can't do.
We noticed he hasn't talked about. You haven't heard about it. No. I think it was a big PR stunt.
Of course it is.
Well, and the problem.
And do me a favor, quit calling him governor. Just say Newsom.
Well, and a
nuisance.
Well, part of it, too, I think, is a strategy there where they know these things aren't right, and they know people are going to challenge them, and they know maybe ultimately it'll lose. But in the meantime, they get to implement all this stuff. And, look at what's happening, again, with the magazine bans, with all these laws we have out here. Okay, they may get overturned eventually in court, but, for the 10 years that it takes to do that. I mean, how long have we had? The roster was what, 2011? When that came about?
I think it was prior to that. I think it was early 2000s. But yeah,
so okay,
it was
at
when
least
Schwarzenegger.
10 years now dealing with this.
That's the thing about lawsuits is they take hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars, and it's a crapshoot, and it takes decades.
Well, and that's one of the things you always say. One of the things I learned here hanging out with you is you don't want to depend on the courts. The courts are a tool, but you don't want them to be the primary weapon or the primary thing that we're using here. The better approach is, again, get the right people elected. So you either don't have these goofy laws or you can repeal these goofy laws. But depending on the courts is a tough thing because you never know.
But what are the chances of really flipping this state and getting the right people in office?
Well, again, that goes to the next thing I'm talking about the Republicans in 2022. Because, again, if you have no plan, and I keep saying that because the Republicans that I've talked to have no plan.
No.
And you could turn this. The state hasn't always been goofy like this. It hasn't always been a mess. And, political things go back and forth. I mean, the Democrats control things for a while. Republicans control things for a while. But, like in the situation out here, they don't have a plan. I mean, I've talked to state senators. I've talked to supervisors. I've talked to assemblymen. And what's the plan for trying to get this back? And they all say, oh, no, there's no statewide plan. Well, if you don't have a plan, you're going to be a super minority forever. I mean, it's, it's a little bit frustrating with that.
One of the reasons I left the party.
Yeah.
Did you leave?
Well,
I am a decline to state. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat.
Well, see, and the problem, though, is that realistically, like it or not, like you always say, they are the absolute second worst party in the country.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, Isn't that
That's
the way
what
you
you
phrase
said.
that?
I say about guns specifically, but yeah. But you know what?
I would expand that.
I was going to say, I don't know. I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, why would you do that?
So, Second Amendment activist, published author, firearms instructor, and poet John Petrolino is next, a real gun writer.
But first, we want to welcome American Shooters as the newest gun shop in San Diego and Gun Owners Radio's newest show sponsor. American Shooters just opened in El Cajon at 1464 Graves Avenue, just off Bradley on the 67. If you're looking for a great gun shop for any of your firearm needs, go visit Mark Halcon and his team at American Shooters. They have a great selection of new and used and consigned firearms. That's American Shooters at 1464 Graves Avenue, off the Bradley exit in lovely El Cajon.
If you've ever read anything about the Second Amendment on the internet, then you've probably read an article by our next guest, who's a friend of the show and a fantastic guy. He's a poet, a scholar, and a fine judge of Scotch. I say that a lot, but this time it's actually true. John Petrolino, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you this evening?
How about that for an intro?
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was it's going to be tough for me to fulfill what you've written there about me.
Hey, I want to introduce you. We got a new co-host here. His name's Action Jackson. Say hi, Jackson.
Hi.
Jackson is how old are you, buddy?
8.
And how often do you shoot?
Once a week.
That's awesome. And what's your gun that you usually shoot?
A 9mm 48 pistol.
A Glock 48 and 9mm. Kid goes shooting every Wednesday, 8 years old. And we got him on the show now. He's one of our co-hosts.
I have picked up on that, Jackson, and it's been wonderful listening to you on the show. I tune in every week, so welcome to the show.
Thanks.
So let's talk, man. You're as active as ever. What's there's all kinds of stuff going on when it comes to the Second Amendment. There are national and local stories breaking, it seems, all the time. What's something that struck your fancy? What's something that stuck out to you?
There's a lot going on. Recently, what we've dealt with here in Jersey is an onslaught of bills that were released on us, a lot of really bad anti-gun stuff. Luckily, through the repeated and continuing of contacting the legislators, they seem to have stalled everything. I don't think it's completely stopped, but I think they might be able to get maybe one bill passed, and it deals with people moving into the state being forced to register their handguns.
Was that a big problem, John? You guys have a lot of people moving into the state?
Well, yeah. You know, it's funny you should bring that up. It's a lot of the people from New York, if they're fleeing New York because they want more freedoms, they stop in Jersey kind of as a purgatory because you don't want to get hit with too much freedom all at once, you know? So if you stay, you do a quick overnighter in Jersey. But really, actually, if you look at all the states that people are fleeing the most, California is up there, New York is up there, New Jersey's up there. I think the reason why Jersey's numbers are actually a little bit stalled is because of people moving into Jersey from New York, which is ironic.
So it stalled. I mean, first off, do you feel like they're just kind of copying, or what are they doing? Are they taking a bunch of California laws and trying to implement them there, or where are these laws coming from?
I'm not really sure because there's a 50 caliber ban. I mean, do you guys have one of those?
Oh yeah, we got that.
Okay, so
we got an app for that.
Ban. Here's one that I'm sure you're well familiar with: the micro stamping of the firing pin.
So they are. They're just copying California laws. This is exactly right. Okay, go ahead. That's another exciting one.
Requires mandatory training to get an FID card.
We don't have an FID yet.
Yeah, we have the
safety card.
We have the safety card, and they mandated 8 hours for the CCW, but I don't know, not quite this, a little bit, kind of.
Yeah, it's a little off. Here's a good one. Allows the Attorney General to bring cause of action for certain public nuisance violations arising from sale or marketing of firearms.
Oh,
So,
gosh. That's another
language.
That's California-based for sure.
And the language of the bill is so broad that, you and I right now could conceivably be partaking in the marketing of firearms, right? Because I like firearms. Do you like firearms? I mean, is that considered marketing them? I don't know.
And is it considered a public nuisance? Well, a lot of these, John, from my understanding, and I think that originated in California. Basically, what it does is if you have a gun shop and you put a picture of of some Navy SEAL with an AR, and say, hey, come buy your AR or whatever, they consider that a nuisance. They consider that false advertising, that that you're trying to tell kids that in order to be a real man, you have to buy an AR, and then they automatically turn into school shooters. And I'm not exaggerating, by the way. This isn't like, a worst case scenario or whatever. There were a couple of shops that have been taken to court over that. And part of the, there was a horrible shooting in Poway at a synagogue, and part of the case was, they're going after advertising and manufacturers, basically saying, hey, they paint these unrealistic expectations with their advertising. And that's why this kid, this horrible, heinous, evil person did what he did. So I'm assuming that's what they mean by the public nuisance thing.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of any other new way and interesting way to attack the lawful commerce of firearms and firearm owners and firearm groups and people that even just say the word firearm, right? So, that was one of the bills. And this stuff it's heinous. It really is. One of the other bills, I'm trying to think, one of the bills, I think it was the mandatory storage bill. I think that's the one. If you infringe on, or if you have an infraction of that, you have to get education from a quote unquote gun safety group and then volunteer time or something. So imagine if you got pinched on something on the list here. Next thing you know, you have to do community service with Moms Demand Action. I mean, you're talking about incredibly egregious violations of our rights. Imagine if you were forced to do that. I mean, that's a quagmire, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, so you go to first off, they send you to a re-education camp, I guess, and
exactly.
the head of that camp is a mom who's demanding action, and they get to tell you whatever political malarkey that they decide they want to tell you. That's the idea.
Yeah, and after they sit you there with your eyeballs held open with toothpicks as they play the film, they had to go and break rocks out in the yard. I guess, I don't know.
Do you get a diploma?
Right.
Tell me what a diploma.
So that's what's going on here in Jersey. What else is going on? This is kind of an interesting. I did an op-ed piece here. This was December 13th, so it's a little old, but things have been busy lately. There was a CNN article talking about all of these different cities, and they listed a whole bunch of cities that have this uptick in crime, and in particular, violent crime and murder. And the article goes on to say at least 9 major cities have broken their previous annual homicide records with 3 weeks to go in 2021 left, right? So this was a couple weeks ago. There have been 513 homicides in Philly. The previous total was 503 in 1990. So that's their winningest year for homicides for Philly.
Congratulations, Philadelphia.
A lot of brotherly love there, right?
But John, didn't your DA in Philly come on TV and say that spike in crime was a myth and it's not happening?
I mean, I guess.
I thought it was a vast right-wing conspiracy or something.
Well, this is coming from CNN, so take from it what you will. Right? I mean, that's what we do. We got to go to the sources here. 230 in Indianapolis. Anyhow, so the big thing is that the writer here and was quoting one of the officials, and the official said that there's been a huge surge in gun sales, and that's maybe why this has been going on. And we all know that's malarkey. And they're trying to nail down a causal factor. There's nothing. They said there is nothing that links all of these cities together as to why there would be any similarities. And this was the police chief, I believe, in Austin. And he said, end quote, "We haven't found that one trend that we could really pin this on." So I went through and I looked at all of the cities that they listed, and I don't know how many are here, maybe 20, maybe more than that. And I added up I went to the counties that all those cities were from, and every single one of these cities, the county that those cities are in, overwhelmingly voted for Joe Biden. So that's all I have to say.
That's the link.
Maybe it's the Joe Biden voters that are creating the problems.
These aren't about, so the people committing these horrible violent crimes, they're not NRA members and CCW holders and firearms instructors.
Well, that is a common thread, though. I mean, those cities, joking aside, I mean, those cities have been controlled for the most part by Democrats for decades. So it's the policies, I think, that result in that stuff. And
exactly.
And the thing with that DA, I mean, I was serious. I saw that clip of that guy, and I saw that just after I think I saw the article that you were talking about, where Philadelphia had broken 2020's record, I think, and 2021 wasn't over yet, and they'd broken the murder record for 2020, which set a record, that year. And he was out there actually saying that it was a myth. It's not happening. It's just like unbelievable that they can say that stuff.
It is crazy, especially because you have the uniform FBI crime report that we can look at and all these things. And, I'm using this as jest, but yes, they all did vote for Biden overwhelmingly. And it's not the voters, okay? It is the policies, like you said, Joe. The policies that are going on here obviously are not working. So my suggestion is maybe you just sit there and, these cities just put their hands up and say, I need an adult, and say, it's time for somebody else to step in. That's not us. And I'm not saying it has to be a Republican or a conservative or anything, right? Who was Mike, was that you failed to declare, right?
Yeah.
What your party is?
Decline to state. That's right.
Decline to state.
But hey, we got to go to break. We're going to have you on after the break as well. So hold on there, John. Hold that thought.
All right. Hey, we are very proud to partner with the National Concealed Carry Association as a 10-ring partner. NCCA exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of 2A advocates. They offer elite self-defense and concealed carry training from the nation's top instructors and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. You can join them today. Members get great prices and free shipping. You can learn more about them at nationalconcealedcarryassociation.com.
Every time you read that one, I think to myself, Second Amendment abacus. I don't know, but it's advocates.
Right? What did I say?
No, you said advocates, but it just
don't start with me.
No, you're doing fine.
You want to borrow a car?
I absolutely do.
You want to walk? It's okay.
That was probably the best read I've ever heard, Dave.
Yeah, you're so full of it. You squeak.
All right, we're talking to Second Amendment author John Petrolino. We were talking about some of the malarkey, which this is now the third time in this interview that we've used the word malarkey.
I like malarkey.
Yeah, fourth time. So we're talking about some of the malarkey that's going on in New Jersey with the Second Amendment. We're talking about some of the things that are going on in general. So what else? What do you think, John? Where do you think we're headed in 2022?
That's a great question. Well, I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of nonsense that we just discussed, like the bills in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bad states are going to get worser, and I think the good states are going to get gooder. So we're looking at Ohio taking up, permitless carry. We had Pennsylvania almost get permitless carry. And then you have states like New Jersey, which are trying to double down. And I think they're going to go into all this kicking and screaming. And I tend to agree with Alan Gottlieb, his sentiments that he said on a show recently with Cam Edwards, talking about how I think that, we are going to see an onslaught of bad bills from the states that are going into accepting the Second Amendment, kicking and screaming. So while carry might be shoved down their throats come the, spring, summer of next year, I think they're going to try to do everything they possibly can to make this miserable for us.
How excited are you on? I got to tell you, I'm a little, I'm kind of a, negative Nancy when it comes to lawsuits. Just because when, when Heller happened in 2008, everybody said, huzzah, everything, all our problems are solved, and nothing happened. And then McDonald happened, and they said, oh, here it is. Now all our problems are solved. And, I'm not as excited about lawsuits as a lot of gun owners. I mean, I basically started an organization that is the opposite of lawsuits because I was so unexcited about lawsuits. But I don't mean to be just unnecessarily negative. I'm actually a very positive person, and I hope that these lawsuits are going to continue to, to help get our rights back. But how excited are you about the New York decision? I mean, even if it's a best case scenario, how much do you think it's going to help us move the needle?
Well, I think it's going to move it quite a bit. I might be on the other end of the spectrum where I'm slightly quixotic about this, and I'm trying not to be overly optimistic. But I think even if they have a very narrow opinion, and I think they're going to have an opinion in the affirmative for rights. It seems that way. That's the way it's leaning. But even if it is narrow, I think this is going to have incredibly broad implications because a whole bunch of stuff that's sitting there at the Supreme Court waiting on certiorari might get remanded down to the lower courts. And they said, thou shalt hear this and hear it under these pretenses. And that's similar to what they did with Catano. People talk about this is the first case that the Supreme Court's going to be, acting on and, since the McDonald case. And it's not really true. Catano had, and that's the stun gun taser ban out of Massachusetts. That case had huge implications across the country that allowed New Jersey's statute to be challenged and overthrown, as well as New York's and Hawaii's and a bunch of other places as well. So that was a Supreme Court related thing. And then the New York State Rifle Pistol Association one case was dealing with transport of firearms outside the boroughs that was mooted. So yes, this is going to be the first one maybe that's heard with an opinion, but it's not the first one that's been heard or hasn't had, any type of appreciable outcome. So all that stuff.
So do you think in general across the nation we're going in the right direction, or is it a stalemate? Or
no, we are. I mean, think about it. We've got, you've got 8 states that refuse to respect the Second Amendment the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then you have, so it's like 8. That's not even, saying, well, the country's divided. No, it's not even 50%. Like if you look at what we're looking towards on permitless carry, we're going to be looking at half the country being permitless potentially over the next
huge.
Couple of years.
I mean, that's huge. That's an extreme step.
It is. And if you want to play games with landmass, like right now, more than 50% of the country is permitless carry. That happens to include Alaska, but, that's permitless. So if you look at the landmass of the United States, more than 50% of the area that you might go to, you don't need a permit to carry a gun.
Now, you and I have talked off air. You had this really great idea of, because like you said, it's just 8 states, the other 42 are pretty good. 35 of the other 42 are excellent. I don't know. I kind of pulled that number, but basically 42 are doing just fine. And it's the other 8. And you had this really great idea where everybody in those, in the 42 states should find an organization in the 8 states and send them money. Become a member, support them.
It's like feed the children. Send your dollars to an organization in New Jersey or New York or wherever. I mean, if you like what clearly New York State Rifle Pistol Association is doing something right. I mean, 2 of their cases within the last couple of years have been heard by the Supreme Court. If you live in a state that has solid foundation and solid laws without any threat to the Second Amendment, which, by the way, the Second Amendment is under threat anywhere, regardless. But just because it feels safe doesn't mean it 100% is. But toss some dollars to the New York State Rifle Pistol Association. Toss some money to ANJRPC. That's the New Jersey version, the Association of New Jersey Rifle Pistol Clubs, or Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners,
or San Diego County Gun Owners.
Or San Diego County Gun Owners. Exactly.
We should seriously. We
got to do a campaign.
We got to name this. We got to do a campaign. We got to name it, like adopt a patriot or
Save
something.
our country.
Can you cry like Sally Struthers?
Exactly. It's not that difficult to do because you're talking about so few states. So how many gun organizations are in California? There's not that many.
We'll get Jackson. Jackson, would you be in the commercial, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be in the commercial. Sponsor a young gun owner for just 50 cents a day.
Yep.
Right?
50.
How cool would that be? You could pull off some lines, couldn't you?
Do you know how much
can
heat?
I?
Do you know how much heat would come his way? You wouldn't want to do that.
If there's anybody out there, especially in the 7 to 9 year old bracket that could handle heat, it's Action Jackson.
Well, that's true. No doubt about it.
Right?
Well, I think your idea is really not a bad idea. We just need to get the horsepower going and get the right people behind it as a unit. And I'm telling, because the right isn't really doing anything, and the left is doing it all.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll have your people get in touch with my people, and we can figure out how to.
I agree.
How to do this. It could be like a super PAC for gun rights organizations.
It really is a good idea.
I think
John,
it is, too.
I mean, honestly, we're kind of joking around, but it really is a good idea. I really do think that some money spent towards getting, Oklahoma and Florida and Texas and.
Well, wouldn't you think the gun industry, the people that make the firearms and all of the stuff that goes with, core belts and all the stuff that goes with gun ownership, don't you think that if we all reached out to them and asked for it's kind of a tunnels to tower, $11 a month?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Well, considering too just the handful of bad states like California, New York, New Jersey generate a lot of the bad stuff that hurts everybody across the country. It's not a bad idea to step up, because one of the arguments you hear out here about the NRA is that they don't devote a lot of time or effort to California because it's kind of lost and they focus their money on other places. So all the more reason, I think, to generate stuff for us.
And there are 8 states, John, but there's some border states as well. Some states that are right on the edge of becoming bad. Georgia.
So in those 8 states, though, right? That doesn't include, say, Illinois, that has shall issue permitting. Illinois is very bad for gun rights, so they still need help, right?
Right.
And on those 8 states, you have Delaware, which Delaware pretty much issues their permits to people that apply for them. But they do have some links where, they're kind of close to Jersey, so you have some of that fallout. So you're right. You have states, even like you said, like Georgia, that, might be safe, but how safe are they?
Isn't this what the NRA should be doing?
I've stopped trying to come up with what the NRA should be doing.
I mean,
years ago.
This is a perfect organization to do this.
Yeah. Well, they kind of do the opposite, don't they? They kind of take money from California and spend it in
wherever.
I shouldn't say that. I'm a big fan of NRA. You guys are doing a great job if you're listening. All right, so this.
Everybody raise your feet. Everybody raise your feet.
I support the NRA. I support the Second Amendment Foundation, Firearms Policy Coalition, all of the big ones.
I do.
I'm with them. I'm behind them completely, and we need them all.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, you could be a good spokesperson. You need to call them all Monday and tell them the game plan.
Well, we could figure this out offline. We'll talk, Mike.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. John, where do we find more about you? I know you send out an excellent email once a week. Where do people find more about John Petrolino? Because I think you have an important voice, my friend.
JohnPetrolino.com. So that's JohnPetrolino.com. And you can get everything about me on their website and sign up for the newsletter, as well as learn about my book, Decoding Firearms, and all that stuff.
Excellent book. Seriously, folks, go to his website and buy that book. It is well worth
Hey,
it.
we live in a state where self-defense rights are under attack. Let us be your voice to help defend and restore the Second Amendment. Help spread the word about the fight. There's 2 easy things you can do. 1, like and subscribe to the show on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps boost the show and puts it in front of more people. All right, so who's going to stump the kid?
Are you ready to stump my nephew, my friend?
Yes, I am.
There you go. All right. So every week we get my nephew on the line, and he is extremely good at gun trivia. We still haven't figured out the exact term for what being extremely good at gun trivia is, but he is. So every week we pick a question. Somebody writes in and says, "Hey, here's a good gun trivia question. If we use it on the air, we give you a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, you get a lifetime of firearms training from Front Sight, which is out in Pahrump, Nevada. They are a firearms training facility resort, and they do an excellent job. I'm going in this March again for I think probably another 4-day defensive handgun. So, Sam, you there?
Yeah, how are you guys?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good.
Fantastic. All right. So, Action Jackson, you ready to read?
Yep.
All right. Let her rip. You know where you're reading from? There
right
you go.
there.
Right there.
Joel from Los Angeles asks, other than manual safety, what made the
British
Webley-Fosbery revolver unique?
Good. Nice.
I couldn't even have done that.
I know. That was tough for me.
Right.
Other than the manual safety, what made the British Webley-Fosbery revolver unique? Good job.
Thanks for writing in, Joel from Los Angeles. Again, sounds like a made-up place name, but whatever. The Webley-Fosbery revolver, as you mentioned, had a manual safety, but it was also a rare example of what's known as an automatic revolver, which means that it's self-cocking. So if any of you have experience with double-action revolvers or even any double-action hammer-fired handgun, you'll know that they can fire in one of 2 modes. Double-action, the trigger does 2 things. It cocks the hammer and releases it, or striker if you have a P99, but whatever. On double action, the trigger cocks the hammer and then releases it, which results in a long and heavy trigger pull because it's doing 2 functions. You're pulling back against a heavy spring. On single action, all you're doing is releasing the hammer. So the idea of an automatic revolver is that you don't have to have a long and heavy trigger pull that's doing the action of rotating and indexing the cylinder, cocking the hammer, and then releasing it. If you use a portion of the energy from the cartridge, then you can have some type of mechanism which will cock the hammer and rotate and index the cylinder for you, so it's single action every time.
So it was basically, when was it introduced? You know about when it was introduced?
I don't know the time period. I know early 20th century, but not beyond that.
Exactly right. 1900. I only know that because Joel from the mythical place of Los Angeles included that in his answer. It was 1900. So basically, this was an early attempt to try to make a semi-automatic pistol, and they used a revolver, and it was on like a track. And every time it used the inertia, right? Every time you pull the trigger, it'd go bang, and it'd use the inertia to cock the hammer, right?
Recoil. It was a recoil-operated revolver. The entire top half of top part of the gun would, including the part of the frame and the barrel and the cylinder would recoil back on a track and cock the hammer and rotate the cylinder.
So Sam, was the first shot on that, was that a double action, or did they have to manually cock the hammer back?
I don't know for sure. I would imagine that it would probably be you would probably have to manually cock it, but I don't know much about this handgun, considering not all that many of them were ever made, and it was kind of a technological dead end. The only other automatic revolvers of which I've even heard are the Union revolver and the Mateba Unica, and neither of those were really manufactured in large numbers either.
Alec Baldwin must have had that gun.
Exactly. So so really all it was doing is resetting the hammer, and that's all. For the amount of the amount of action that this thing went through in order to just reset the hammer, it was kind of a lot of squeeze, not a lot of juice. So, but it was. So I'll read what they wrote. Introduced in 1900, it was a quite unique weapon for more than just its manual safety. It was a self-cocking revolver. The cylinder and barrel assembly were mounted in a track on the grip frame. With each shot, they would recoil backwards, and a mechanical cam would rotate the cylinder and recheck the hammer. This elaborate mechanism served to give the Webley-Fosbery a nice, light, single-action trigger pull on each shot, like an automatic pistol, without requiring manual cocking as on all other revolvers. Doesn't mention whether or not it was a single or double action on that first pull, but it really was. I've actually seen one of these in person, and it really is a kind of a monstrosity. This entire revolver moving back and forth on a track, and really all it's doing is resetting that trigger. Mechanically, there's a lot more effective things you can do to have a nice smooth trigger pull than have the entire thing move, basically thrusted forward and back to just to reset the hammer.
Yeah, so what you've effectively done in designing an automatic revolver is add weight and size and complexity to this system instead of just moving to a different operating mechanism like an automatic. In that time period, people were still experimenting with this because revolvers were well accepted and well understood. But at that time, you could just as easily go out and buy, say, a Mauser C96, or Lugers were just starting to come onto the scene, or something like that, and have a pistol with greater capacity and probably greater reliability as well.
Yeah, because the whole point, right? I don't know, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. Sam, correct me if I'm wrong. But the whole point of having the hammer, recocked is to have and have a lighter trigger pull is accuracy, right?
Right.
So if you have half the gun, moving back and forth,
might affect accuracy.
Dave, I think you're right. I think you're onto something.
That might affect it. Just
so
a tad.
it's kind of I guess it was kind of a cool experiment, and it kind of helped them move things forward.
Isn't that what the gun industry is all about?
Well,
somebody's always trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I think they, but
we've had some pretty crazy firearms out there, let me tell you.
Yeah, so good. I'm glad this existed, but it doesn't sound like it was practically a good firearm. All right, my friend, excellent job. Anything else exciting going on?
No, nothing really. Same old, same old. Fortunately, we did not have a lot of people coming by the shop today saying, I bought this gun as a gift for my wife and she doesn't like it. Can I return it?
Nice.
Oh, right, education. Sam. You're doing good.
Yeah.
I guess so. I hope so.
There you go. All right, buddy. Take care.
You guys too. Have a good night.
Are you doing a mic drop?
Not doing a mic drop. We're going to do a real quick, you don't know Jack.
You don't know Jack. Son. It was Christmas, so I didn't have time.
You have said that for 8 weeks.
8 weeks of Christmas.
All right, my friend. So Merry Christmas, Jackson.
Yeah, what'd you get for Christmas?
A 511 Doug Markaya Karambit.
Wow, which is a knife, right?
A Doug Markaya? You got one of those? Nice.
Yeah.
I like that guy. You like that guy?
Yeah.
Are you gonna start forging your own knives someday?
Yep.
I don't blame you. I would too.
Show Big Dave what you got going on there.
Is that it?
Look at that.
Oh, let me see.
Holy cow! Don't cut yourself, Dave.
Yeah, this is his favorite knife. Doug Markaya. He makes all those guys make this knife. Could you make a knife like that? I couldn't.
I think I may could if I had an anvil.
That's true.
Well, we'll just have to get you an anvil.
There's always next Christmas. You didn't get an anvil this Christmas?
Oh man.
No, and plus that would crash the sleigh for the first few seconds of Santa's flight.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I didn't think about that.
What else did you
get? There are some
get?
logistics problems with getting an anvil for Christmas.
So what else did you get?
He also got a Glock 17 resetting trigger kit for training.
Wow, that's awesome. Who gave you that?
OG.
OG.
All right.
Nice job, OG.
All right.
Shout out to OG. My grandmother never got me anything near that cool.
No.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, cool. Well, Merry Christmas and thank you so much. That's awesome.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Thanks for being on the show as always. Glad our paths crossed and look forward to a prosperous 2022 with you on the show and bringing us all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
It's going to be a tough year. We're really going to make you work. We're going to really make you work in 22. So be ready, Freddie.
There you go.
See, look at that. He even knows how to salute.
Quick to the brow.
He knows how to do it. All right. Hey, subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, YouTube, or whatever your favorite flavor is. And please support all our great, great sponsors. You need to join San Diego County gun owners. You need to sign up to U.S. Law Shield. Hopefully you never need the Dillon Law Group, but if you do, they're there for you. PRMI Mortgage. You want to leave California? He'll help you. That's actually Scott Vincent at Coldwell Banker Royalty Realty, Sage Street Web Development, National Concealed Carry Association, and our newest partner, American Shooters in El Cajon. Thanks to Joe Germisi, Michael Schwartz, Melissa Lee, Sam the Gunman, Action Jackson, and Mr. Wonderful Brendan Thomas. Right here on FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The answer.
Oh, man.